Greetings ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. I will be your host, Thrones, bringing you a role-playing build known as Shriven. Shriven in a nutshell is a role-playing build intended specifically for a niche casual playstyle, questing around and a all-around normal content. It is in no way made for veteran content. It is not made to min-max, nor is it made for any type of difficult content or veteran dungeons. Now that that's out of the way, the build revolves around being a werewolf with the twist of being a werewolf hunter at the same time being a Shriven victim. We are all about being a werewolf as well as combining the lightning aspect of being a sorcerer. So basically a werewolf hunter who's a ex-Silver Dawn member but also a Shriven using Zappy abilities. Shriven can be any race, any gender, or even any class. However, I highly recommend the Sorcerer as it fits the Shriven or Soul Shriven aesthetics quite well. While it can be any race and any gender, I will be using my iteration, which is Nord. Our character, previously a member of the Order of the Silver Dawn, a millionth group of werewolf hunters that were active in the mid-Second Era. Vykosa formed the Moon Hunter Pack and took over the Moon Hunter Keep, which was initially a fortress of the Silver Dawn. She gathered one of the largest werewolf packs known at the time, consisting of both willing and unwilling members. Our character being infected by lycanthropy and forcibly controlled by Vykosa the Ascendant. He was sent to the Imperial City for hunting down a number of unwilling new members for the Pact, while in the Imperial City by exposure of the Great Imperial Dolmen, and as such freed from the grasp of Vykosa. However, in the process did his mind become shriven, as such free of their grasp did he be bound to go against Vykosa herself. And as such our character journey begins. Now for the build. Alright, for our character we are using a Nord. Again, you know me, at this point I'm literally just going to do Nords. I can't play any other race. Even though I have a couple of characters, I will not play them. Anyways, we put everything into stamina for our stats. We are having a decent amount of weapon damage and some penetration. Our weapon critical isn't that great, but you know, we're managing. Because we're a Nord, we're having quite a bit of resistances, especially if you combine the skills which we are going to mention in a second. We're using the Warrior Mundus stone. We are a werewolf, as you can tell from the theme of the character. We're using Dubious Comorian Throat, and yeah, that's it for the character. For our skills, we are using quite a bit of a variety of skills. We are going with light armor, as you saw for the passes. We're going to get there in a second when we go to gear, but for our main skills we are using Bound Armaments. It's a very nice ability for a sorcerer either way. Our main spammable is actually Silver Shards to fit the Wolf Hunter theme we're going as. Even though we're a werewolf ourselves, a little bit of that curse. Yeah, we're using Blood Craze for a little bit of healing and a DOT of bleed damage basically. We're using Deadly Cloak for the AoE and a little bit of damage over time, and Major Evasion, which is always a nice addition. I'm going with Circle Protection, 2 reasons. A little bit of that minor protection and that stamina recovery. However, the main reason I'm slotting it because it's a Fighter's Guild skill and we get some weapon and spell damage for being slotted, and yeah. I apologize for not being maxed out yet, but for our ultimate, I'm going with the werewolf, and I went with the werewolf berserker morph for more of the bleed damage when it comes to light attacks, and the heavy attacks from splashing and increase stamina, you know. For our back bar, I'm going with Dark Deal, nothing too special here. It's just restoring health and stamina. Critical Surge for a little bit of that healing and Major Brutality. I'm using Critical Charge because of the two-hander I'm using. I'm going with Hurricane for Major Resolve, Major Expedition. Damage over time is just a overall nice ability for a sorcerer to have. And I went with Vigor on my last ability, and if you're not for Vigor and want a little bit more diversity. I guess you could slot in the, where are they, bound armaments here as well, because it will increase your maximum stamina while slotted, and your light attacks will deal more damage while slotted. If you don't like this one and want to go with a pet, you can always go with Unstable Clanifer. It deals physical damage, and yeah, but I don't feel it with this one, so I just went with Vigor. For my ultimate on here I'm using Suppression Field, but you can go wild and going with Overlord for a little bit of more of that electricity aesthetics. And yeah. For our Werewolf skill 9, I did not unlock everything yet, however I do plan to probably grind it out tonight. I'm not going with anything special really. I went with Berserker Morph, I went with the Brutal Pounce for a little bit more of the extra damage, Hersine's Rage for a little bit more damage, the Deafening Roar more damage, and Piercing Howl more damage. I will probably go with Infectious Claws and morphing it into healing me while it's active instead of going with the other morph. So yeah. For our sets, I went with Molokina. It's a personal choice. I like the aesthetics it goes with, that goes around the arms when it comes to the electricity. It fits well with the Imperial aesthetics we went here, or basically the cursed Mind-Shriven aesthetics. Kina is not that hard to get when it comes to DLCs. However, if you don't like Kina, you can always slot in another monster set, or just drop the monster set in general and just go with Master Weapons, Maelstrom Weapons, Asylum Weapons, or Black Rose, or even Vatran Weapons. It's all up to you. You can actually proc Molokina without even hitting a target, just light attacking and you get it procced. It's a nice addition. I did not notice until a couple of days ago. So yeah. For our other set, it is a light set, which is basically the Aurorian one. When you deal direct damage to a enemy, it will summon a cone of lightning. I like it paired up with Molokina's lightning. In general, it gives us maximum health, weapon, spell damage, and penetration. So all in all, it is a nice set to wear. For our third set, I went with Salvation. The only reason I went with Salvation is because werewolf form. Our main form of this character is basically being a werewolf. So gaining that cost reduction is very nice. Plus we're getting a little bit of weapon and spell damage. I'm sure you could go with other sets if you want to min-max. I would recommend maybe Reliquin with maybe even Blood Moon. Or if you don't like Blood Moon, go with Tsovgin from the Dicey dungeon with the Dwemer, I can't remember the name. And you can always go with Selene if you want to be more, nature-like with the bear, but this one is a little bit more lightning focused with being mind-shriven and on the whole aesthetics. For the back bar, I went with the Maelstrom two-handed. No other reason, just to be a little bit fresh, not always going with Cleave. However, if you want to go with Cleave ability, which is the third ability of the two-handed skill line, you can always go with the Master two-hander, or do whatever the heck you want. You can go with a bow instead of a two-hander. However, I like going with dual wielding with two-handed just because it looks nice and it feels cool. At least fits a Nord, if anything. Some other alternatives I could offer instead of Aurorian. If you don't like the light armor aesthetics, you can always go with the Storm Master. When you deal critical damage with a fully charged heavy attack, your light and heavy attacks deal additional damage. It drops from Tempest Island and it is a very beautiful set. If you don't like Molokina, you can always go with Stormfist. It summons a Storm Atronach Fist, basically yeeting a enemy dead. And yeah. And do I recommend any other alternatives? I don't know. Go wild, mate. You can go with Blood Moon. You can go with Savage Werewolf. You can combine other sets if you want to summon a Daedra from the Imperial. You can always go with the Maw of the Infernal, summoning a big ass alligator Daedra. You could go with Pale Ordering and just one monster set if you want a little bit of healing. Stonehusk is also a very nice set to wear. It comes from a dungeon, which is a little bit related to werewolves, but it's more on the alchemy side, and I don't feel it on this one. And yeah, you can just play around. You can always even try Vicosa. When you bash an enemy, you taunted, you frighten the enemy with a deafening howling, applying major covering, slowing their weapon and spell damage. It's not useful in PvE, which is our main focus, so we're not going to use it. However, the one I can recommend is Balrog. Basically, it is a set from March of Sacrifices. And yeah, here it is. When you use an ultimate, you gain weapon and spell damage equal to the amount of ultimate consumed, your physical and spell penetration equal to 23 times to the amount for 12 seconds. You can always go into your werewolf form. It's very, our werewolf form in this case is very cheap. Last time I checked, it was 170, really cheap. If you don't want to be a werewolf, well, I don't know. I really don't know. This is a werewolf build. I'll try to be a little bit more quirky with the aesthetics. But yeah. For our CP, craft skill line. Again, same as all my other builds. Rationer, liquid efficiency, speed while running, and I went a little bit with the friends in low places because I killed a couple of people and yeah. However, ideally you want, I guess, Treasure Hunter. If you don't want Treasure Hunter, you can always invest into Gifted Rider for that more of that mount speed. However, everything purely subjective. If you like fishing, go fishing. If you like being a sneaky boy with Blade of Woe, whatever, go wild. For the Warfare, Warfare CP skill line, the only one I can recommend and is basically Raving Blows. I really love it. I'm gonna repeat it every time in every video. Raving Blows. Dealing direct damage heals you for 7%. I went with Master at Arms because direct damage, yeah. Damage over time fits well with the bleeds from the light attacks from the werewolf. And fighting finally is a little bit of the critical. If you don't like the critical, you can always go with something else, maybe biting aura or deadly aim. If you don't like those, you can always go a little bit wild with when you kill an enemy under the effect of a status effect, they violently explode. This one is a very nice skill you can go with, especially with this aesthetics of the Oblivion theme, the Mind Shriven, Imperial City vibes and stuff. If you don't like any of those and just want to go wild, you can always put a little bit in Magicka, a little bit in weapon or spell damage, a little bit in stamina. Really depends. It's purely subjective. Just play around and see what fits. It is a role-playing build, so whatever you do with it, you will not suffer a huge deal because the build itself is just for questing around anyways. For fitness, I went with Boundless Vitality, Fortified and Rejuvenation. However, if you don't like any of these, put them wherever you want. The only one I do recommend is Bloody Renewal, which gives you stamina back every time you kill an enemy. You can also go low with Rejuvenation and put it into Siphoning Spells, which gives you even Magicka back as well as stamina when these two are combined. So everything else is just purely subjective. I put everything basically into everything I could have put it in because I have quite a bit of skill points or basically CP points. But if I were to choose where to invest, I would try to get Bloody Renewal first, even if I have to only spend one of these and just get there in general. And that's it for CP. For fashion, now this is going to be a fun ride. Buckle up, kiddos. I went with Silver Dawn onto everything basically except the weapons, but I'll get there in a second. The dice I'm using Cold Harbor Ash Black and Necrophilic Black for some of the metallic parts. I didn't want it to be too shiny, otherwise it would look well, unnatural for some reason. As you see, much, I mean, it is more brighter, but it doesn't fit the cold look I'm trying to go with. However, if you don't like the colors, go wild. Honestly, it is purely subjective. So yeah, I went with Silver Dawn, everything else. If you don't like Silver Dawn but still want to maintain a little bit of the aesthetics of her scene, you can always go with Huntsman fashion. It is basically the Daedric armor of the hunting grounds from the Daedric plane of Oblivion of her scene. If you don't like this one either but still want a little bit of werewolf fashion, Dreadhorn is one of the styles, which is in Falkreath's dungeon, I think it was, and some Reachmen are basically wearing it. It fits a little bit in with the aesthetics. You can always go with Bloodforge as well. Bloodforge got these antler horns, which fit very nicely. You can always go with the Wayward, a little bit with the Reach style. Perhaps Silver Dawn, if you don't like the hat, you can always go with this one as well. It does look very nice. However, I like the pirate style thingy. I have no idea how to call this. A top hat. You can always try out Thorn's Legion if you want to go with a mix of a half whatever. I'm sorry about not being able to explain everything in detail. But yeah, however, there are some options I can also recommend. If you want to go with more of the Imperial style like I went, you can try out a little bit with the Dragon God. If you don't like Dragon God, you can go with the Ebony style. Where is it? Ebony? Yeah, can't find it. You can go with XIVKYN hat. Go with that. A Kaviri style fits very nicely as well. You can go with Ancient Daedric if that's your niche, but it looks much more edgy and then less beast-like if you go with that one. I can also recommend maybe, I don't know, Silver Rose. Very nice Imperial set comes. Silver Rose actually could go with it, but since I don't own it and I don't think it's even out yet, yeah. Shield of Sensual, maybe, but it's more on the Khajiit side rather than the Imperial style. However, you can try it out. You can go with House Hexus. It is basically the Imperial style, but it's basically the ancient Imperial style, but they named it into Hexos, whatever. As you can tell, where is it? Hexos. Yeah, it's basically the Imperial style. You can go with it, actually. Now, the main parts I can recommend to go with this build is exactly Legion 0. Basically, that's what we're trying to combine. Legion 0 and Silver's Dawn from the Silver Dawn dungeon. So those two, we are trying to combine it to one, and Legion 0 Vigilus really depends on you. However, I went with the aesthetics of the Silver Dawn being corrupted by being a mind shriven. But if you want to go more Imperial style but still a werewolf, just go Legion 0, it's a very nice set. You can always try out Nibonese, it looks more like a knight. Or Knight Aspirant. You have a lot of options with this one actually. You can even try Ebon Steel if you're feeling rich. If not, well, I'm sorry, I don't know. You can just play around, see what you find interesting. If nothing fits your bill, I don't know. Try something else, I guess. Serious, I have no idea. You could try out maybe glass, but I don't feel the glass on this one. I do recommend the Silver Dawn as a main one. Looks a little bit unique. For the skin, I'm using Mind Shriven skin. For the personality, I'm using the Beast skin. For the mount, it's Mind Shriven horse, and for the pet, I'm going with the normal Daedrat. However, if you don't have the Daedrat, you can always go with whatever you want, maybe even a mini wolf or I don't know. For the eye coverings, I'm going with where is it? Sightless Master Blindfold. It comes in the Crown Store under styles, under cosmetic packs, adornments. It's one of these basically. It's not that expensive, maybe it's, yeah, 1000 crowns, so you can actually get it for, I guess, 1.5 million gold if you want to trade, you know. It can be quite expensive if you don't have if you're fresh to the game. For the weapons, I'm going with the Vykosa swords and the Vykosa two-handed. The reason I'm going with this, it is from a werewolf dungeon. It has this purple glow, and the reason why I made this RP build on a sorcerer specifically. However, if you don't like it, go wild, whatever the heck you want. Perhaps if you like the Silver Dawn... Where is it? Yeah, Silver Dawn two-handed, looks like a giant mace, really spiky, could hurt everyone. For dual wielding, you can try out maces as well. If you don't like the maces, you can always try the sword. However, I like the Vykosa more than the normal ones. However, if you want to try out maybe a bow, in that case I will recommend one bow specifically. It is one of my favorite bows in the game, and that is the Huntsman bow. Where is it? It's one of the most beautiful bows in the game. It's huge if you go with the two-handed one. It has these wolf heads on it, and it just looks beautiful. Every shape and form. So yeah, thanks for watching.